Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this session with a very powerful title. The title is A Powerful Partnership, the ECML and the EU, Innovative Methodologies and Assessment in Language Learning. My name is Waldemar Martyniuk. I'm a former executive director of the ECML, and I have the pleasure of having a co-chair, Kristina Cunningham, whom you already know. I was instructed that it's for me to start, to explain or to tell you the story behind this powerful partnership that has been in place now for 8 years? 9 years?
9 years, I would say.
9 years. We say 9 years. Okay, we go for 9 years. Which means you probably expect some juicy anecdotes, how this came about. No, I'm happy you don't. Oh, you do. No, really, seriously. The explanation for this, or the story behind this partnership, the powerful one, is having to do with the very essence of the ECML, the European Centre for Modern Languages, as an enlarged partial agreement of the Council of Europe. Its essence is, I would say, networking, cooperation, and partnerships. This is what this center is really all about. As I came to Graz to serve as the director of the center in 2008, partnerships and cooperation were high on my agenda. And I certainly looked forward to try to establish partnerships as powerful as it gets. I knew already from my previous work at the Council of Europe in Strasbourg, at the Secretariat, at the Language Policy Division, that there were already joint projects, joint programs between the Council of Europe and the European Union or European Commission. I knew also that it was not a straightforward business because of the many differences in how these organizations work. Additionally, ECML is a partial agreement, which means that only member states who subscribe to this agreement are members. And among those, we have both members of the European Union and countries outside of the membership of the European Union, which adds additionally to the problems related to supporting projects that go beyond the membership of the European Union. It's also having to do with the structure of the programs that we used to have at the ECML. I think our initial attempts to bring it to the point that we could start thinking about concrete cooperation were already in 2008 or maybe just thereafter. We kept inviting higher level representatives of the European Commission to our meetings, to our events. And each time I was supported by the governing board of the ECML to do more, to establish some kind of cooperation that would be more tangible. I think the turning point was as in 2011 we decided to offer within the next medium-term program, we decided not just to offer project formats, but also what we first called targeted support, I remember, then turned to training and consultancy for the member states. And this was something that was easier to implement in this cooperation. So my visit to Brussels and my negotiations and talks and discussions with Pierre Mérès, whom we acknowledge here, were bearing fruit because he understood, so it's not just about projects, but it's also about going to the member states and doing some work to far more greater extent than it was the case before. So I offered a list of themes, topics that could be our joint effort, and we agreed to start with two. One of them is still in operation. It's the assistance for the member states to deal with the validation of their claims of linking their exams to the Common European Framework of Reference for languages. And we are going to have a presentation by José Noijons, the happy coordinator of that project, to tell us how it works. The other topic that we agreed upon at in the first stage was the ICT, the DOTS team, whose members I see in the audience here. They're there. They were also among the first ones to go to the member states and assist them in using the technology in support for language learning. Martyniuk, do you want to go all the names?
But the two of them, the
two of
couple,
them.
Martina and, what was his name?
Okay, this is your task. This is your task for today's reception. Find out who they are and talk to them about that, because they are not presenting. So they will be presenting for you, private presentation. And then it was, the other topic was judged being of interest for the European Commission, and maybe Kristina wants to say something about this. It's multilingual classrooms, and this is the second presentation that we are going to hear. So enjoy the presentations, and now I give the floor to my charming co-chair.
Vous remarquez que j'ai été promue. C'est un honneur d'être maintenant la co-chair, présidente jointe de cette éminente session. Je pense que tu as tout à fait raison, Waldek, dans ton analyse de ce qui a changé et qui a ouvert les positions des deux parties. Il y a encore un petit détail que tu n'as pas mentionné, et c'est ça. Hein? Nous avons toujours eu un programme pour l'éducation, la culture, le multilinguisme et tout ça. Donc, il y avait des fonds, mais bien sûr, au sein de la Commission européenne, on savait qu'on était tout à fait capable à repartir ces fonds entre nos partenaires de la façon qu'on a jugé utile à l'époque, suivant nos priorités. Mais le double fait d'avoir ouvert les activités du Centre européen à l'éducation des multiplicateurs. Hein? Ça, c'était un changement très important. Et en même temps, on a commencé à discuter les priorités ensemble. Hein? Avant de prendre les décisions, on a ouvert un dialogue entre nos deux institutions sur les priorités les plus intéressantes, les plus urgentes. Donc, on a commencé dans le domaine du numérique et, dès le début, avec l'application du cadre européen des compétences linguistiques dans l'enseignement, le RELANG. Le RELANG, donc, court encore aujourd'hui. On va l'entendre tout de suite. Puis on a remplacé le digital parce que ça, c'est un sujet qui est développé par tellement de projets partout en Europe, un peu partout. Mais on a ajouté les classes multilingues parce que cela, c'était une priorité qu'on a identifiée comme vraiment urgent et tout aussi important pour l'Union européenne que pour le Conseil de l'Europe. Et on a été ravis de pouvoir monter cette initiative comme une activité jointe entre nos deux institutions. Peut-être juste à la fin, dans le Festschrift, dans cette publication, pour laquelle Sarah a déjà fait un peu de publicité, qu'il faut absolument lire, à tout prix. Il y a une petite contribution de notre directrice générale actuelle qui a donc souligné les priorités communes qui lient nos deux institutions. Et j'en suis très, très heureuse. Merci.
Thank you. So now let's see how this powerful partnership works. José Noijons, coordinator of the project called, to begin with, it was called RELEX, then it was turned to RELANG.
Yeah, indeed. Waldek didn't want me to tell you about juicy details about how this all started, but this is exactly how it went. He wanted to go to Brussels and told us, yes, can't we cooperate with the European Union? And we said, well, there's a lot of paperwork involved then. And he said, yeah, but they're rich. And then we said, yes, possibly that's a good idea. And I must say, it's not just a powerful partnership, it's become a happy marriage. And to be honest, this is the first time I see the two foster parents together here. So I'm quite charmed by this, yes. And I will show you how fruitful this marriage has been. All right. Yes, here are the kids. And now I need to operate all sorts of things. So you see, RELANG is about relating language curricula now, tests and examinations to the CFR. And it is a cooperation between the European Centre for Modern Language, ECML, and the European Commission. And in those days, Waldek was then representing the ECML, and now Kristina is representing the Commission. Now, to show you in what sort of context we were working and why Waldek thought it was such a good idea to actually work together with the Council of Europe, we had the CFR there, and that was a very useful instrument also for the EU and for their aims. And now we also have the companion volume with the new descriptors. So again, the Council of Europe is helping us a lot in the work that we are doing. And then, of course, there's the ECML itself with all these themes that they have for the evaluation and assessment. And again, in this book, this Festschrift, you will read a lot about evaluation and assessment, how the ECML has approached that in the past. And I would like to point out that focused feedback, for example, informative testing, teaching and instructing teachers how to test and how to regard assessment as a very important part of the job they're doing. Setting and grading of national and international examinations. All of this is at the core of the work of the Council of Europe. There we go. The context for the European Union is, as Kristina has already pointed out, there is this Council recommendation now on a comprehensive approach to the teaching and learning of languages. And I'm afraid, Kristina, there's still mention of foreign language in it, but okay. What we are interested in as RELANG people, of course, is proficient user level. That's an interesting point, and I will come back to it, because possibly it's a challenge even to reach that proficient level in whatever you call it, mother tongue, first language, language of schooling, all of this. Huh? And I'm very glad that in the Council recommendation, it actually says that the cooperation with the Council of Europe needs to be strengthened. And I'm very happy that you are proof of that strengthening. The development of the RELANG workshops. In a way, it shows how in these past 8 years, things have developed from an original idea of, as Waldek was saying, linking existing examinations to the CFR. That happened to be a challenge because lots of examinations were wonderful in themselves, but couldn't be linked to the CFR at all because they didn't share the ideals, in fact, of the CFR, the notion of communication as it is formulated in the CFR. So in the end, we decided why not have workshops on constructing examinations based on the CFR? In fact, that's what countries asked us for. Developing formative tests linked to the CFR, of course, in the classroom. And then at one point we realized, okay, we are producing now examinations linked to the CFR, but people said in the countries that we were working in, yeah, these are wonderful examinations, these are wonderful tests, but they're not linked to our curriculum. We are supposed to teach different things. And then there was this idea, yeah, well, of course, then possibly you might like to consider, as the phrase would be, to change your curriculum. If you want examinations linked to the CFR, then you need to teach to these examinations, and then you might have to change your curriculum. And this has happened in quite a number of countries, of which there are representatives in this room. So when I claim that this has happened in some countries, you can ask them whether this is true, yes or no. And then there is this idea, and Kristina was pointing at this, developing tests of second language. Of course, the CFR refers to second language, but in the original version, second language is only mentioned a limited number of times. It is understood that it is part of it, but testing second language may be different from testing first language, testing mother tongue, etc., etc. Again, we produced workshops, or we had rather workshops on this. And now there is the new companion volume, and people have problems sometimes understanding what the function is, what the status is of this, and especially with the mediation scales. Some people don't understand exactly what is meant by mediation in the context of the CFR. And again, that is a challenge for us to explain to them. Let's have a look at these challenges. First of all, there's this idea of proficient user level in the first foreign language. I'm glad that at least in the CFR, proficient level is defined. That's C1 and C2. But I put it to you, in which country will you have reached at the end of secondary school C1 level in the first foreign language of the student? There's lots of countries that are modest enough to say, well, we only reached B2. But this is the ambition, at least, of the EU, that you reach a proficient level in the first foreign language, let alone reaching it in, for example, the first level. And when you looked at the PISA results that came out this week, early this week, in my country, for example, the level of the students in the language of schooling has gone down considerably. And I would not call that proficient at all. And I wouldn't even call it intermediate. Never mind how I have to define that, because officially there is no definition in that, I think, in the CFR. But if 15-year-olds are not intermediate or proficient yet, then there is only, in my country, 2 years to still work on this before they should reach that level. So there is a serious challenge there. Independent user level in second foreign language, I suppose that should be possible. And I think we should sort of strive after that. That's very important within the mobility context of the EU. There are these parallel requirements for foreign languages within one system. So one country teaches English, French, German, Italian, but I'm afraid usually they only reach one level, the proficient level in English and not in the other languages. Not because the teachers are less qualified or what, but usually it's because of exposure and problems like that. There is an issue there. Agreement among member states on CFR levels. Of course, there are all these disagreements. Oh, my B2, is that your B2, et cetera, et cetera. I won't go into the details of that. And of course, there is this fundamental issue of the CFR concept of language use. Lots of countries are not aware of this at all. They only go for the levels and not for the concept of language use as expressed in the CFR. And then the new concept of mediation. Again, they sometimes think, we can have translation back again. Oh my God, no, that was not at all the idea. So we have to tell them, look, this is different. And the need for valid test of second language proficiency, all of this is very important, and there are challenges there are more challenges now. Okay, capacity building. What we have been able, I think, is to increase the expertise of examination centers in developing of items and of tests, if you like, and improving the reliability and the validity of these tests. We have made it clear that more attention should be paid to the role of assessment in teacher training, and indeed, lots of teacher trainers have taken part in our workshops. We have assisted teachers in formative testing. We have developed new curricula together with the countries. So I may say, immodest maybe, that we have been able to achieve quite a bit of things. And mind you, again, this is a result of the powerful partnership or the happy marriage. And the impact indeed has been that in 28 countries, in 63 workshops, we have been working together with all these people. And an important thing, we now also have regional cooperation. So the Baltic states and Poland work together. I can't go into the exact details of how they do this, but it is very important that they all are aware of what they're doing, and they ask each other for comments on their draft examinations and things like that. That is a wonderful new development, which I hope will happen in other parts of the country, of Europe as well. Here you see it in another way. As you see, most of Europe is covered. There are a few countries where we haven't been active: in the United Kingdom, in France, in Germany, and in the Netherlands, where I come from. And in Poland, maybe. So, future needs. We would like to have standards of language proficiency. This sometimes has been called benchmarks and all sorts of things, but the EU is very much afraid of producing such standards, but in a way we need them, really. Then the comparability of language examinations. It's very difficult to compare examinations at the moment. You can do it through the CFR, but it's not official enough. We need more proof of validity of claims of links to the CFR and of the validity of the levels that the examinations are at. We would like more regional cooperation, not just in the Baltic area with Poland, but possibly in Central Europe, in Southern Europe as well. And capacity building in psychometrics. Very many countries produce wonderful examinations, but have very little proof of how valid and how reliable these examinations are. And I feel that we need more training for them in psychometrics there. And that goes together with the development of valid tests of second language. Again, it's important to see that for second language, you possibly need other qualities, you need other descriptors, you need other competencies than for the first language. And in conclusion then, I think that the quality of tests and examinations in the countries that we have worked in has improved, that the curricula have been revised, and all of this thanks to the Council of Europe and its companion volume, the ECML project, the publications and the consultancy, and our project, and of course to the powerful cooperation between the EU and the ECML. Thank you.
Thank you very much, José. This is quite impressive, isn't it? Okay, we are hoping to offer some time for questions or comments at the end of this. Now we are moving to the multilingual classroom. Brigitte, Gerber, and Terry Lam. Yes. Un moment dramatique.
Can you hear? Oh,
Yeah.
right, okay. I couldn't hear, so it was me. Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for the introductions, and thanks, José, for your input there. Brigitte and I are going to talk about the other training and consultancy initiative that benefits from the partnership between the European Commission and ECML, which is supporting multilingual classrooms, which is now in its 5th year. I can't believe. Time flies. So the impetus for this, yep, good. The impetus for this particular initiative, obviously, is the increasing need across Europe for the integration of young migrants. But I must say that that doesn't mean that we just focus on new arrivals or schools with new arrivals. And we believe very strongly that integration isn't a one-sided issue, and therefore we need education for everybody to value and appreciate and learn from the diversity in their classrooms surrounding them. So the other reason is, of course, that we have many children in our schools who are not new arrivals, but who have a migration background going back 2 or 3 generations. And in fact, most children in many countries have a migration background if you go back far enough. So we like to sort of show the commonalities around that so that it's less a focus on these new arrivals. We conduct workshops, 2-day workshops in various states, just as RELANG does, and we have a team of 7 colleagues from various European countries. So we're able to bring a wide range of personal and professional experiences from different contexts, as well as different expertise. So at the heart of supporting Multilingual Classrooms initiative is the idea of developing plurilingual competencies. You'll hear me say a lot of things which are echoing things that Kristina's already said, which I think just shows the synergies between what we are doing and the ideas that Kristina's been talking about. So it's the development of plurilingual competencies and valuing of all languages, because that is key to learning, to employability, and to social cohesion, as well, of course, of inclusion. We talk about social justice issues. We offer support to teachers and other practitioners, 3 modules. You know, maths teachers, physics teachers, geography teachers, history in our sessions. The third one works on the whole school level, language-aware schools, so developing whole school strategies for valuing the linguistic and cultural diversity in their school. And of course, we draw on a wide range of ECML projects. Actually, looking at the historical development, we draw on projects from several of those programs because they're still very, very relevant to our work. Of course, we are aware that there is a need for supporting multilingual classrooms. We see it in statements and the commitments from the Council of Europe. We heard the Director General for Democracy this morning talking about democratic citizenship, human rights, social cohesion, etc. And also specifically the protection and development of plurilingualism and multilingualism through a holistic approach to language learning and development. ECML conducts surveys of all member states which inform the programs. So, you know, the one that informed the previous one specifically made reference to requests from countries for teacher development in areas such as plurilingual education, language of schooling, languages and migration, languages and employment, things which clearly we are dealing with in this particular initiative. And because we benefit from the partnership with the European Union, we also connect to documents from the European Union, and most recently, of course, the recommendations that Kristina's talked about. And I'm going to close my little bit really by just giving you some snapshots. I'm watching my time because I have to share it very fairly with my dear colleague Brigitte, because otherwise she won't talk to me. So I'll keep it quite brief. There will be time for some questions, and also we will be in the various events tomorrow as well, so there'll be time for further questions then. So some examples of that. The recommendations talk about inclusion of all languages that are part of the learner's linguistic capital. Obviously, you know, the valuing of the centrality of the languages repertoire of all of our learners and the ways in which they draw on that to enhance their sense of self and their learning is crucial and is central to our workshops. Of course, we addressed challenges, and a key challenge is, what do I do if they don't have the language of schooling? I'm a maths teacher, what do I do? Or I'm a language teacher, what do I do? So we have to address that. But we also, we shift mindsets through our activities to get them excited about the opportunities for their children of being in a classroom that is very, very linguistically diverse. And we show them very practical ways of building on that. Language awareness, we clearly involve a lot of work on that, comparing languages, looking at similarities, differences, reflecting on your own language as well. And we do that with the teachers. We do it so that we give them materials that they can use with children, but also on a whole school level. And we draw on materials from ECML projects on parents, working with parents, and working with the communities as well. So these are all referred to in the recommendations. And then finally, I've already mentioned, we support the learning of the language of schooling. I'd just like to say that we do that in several ways. We take a holistic approach. We make it clear that that doesn't mean they have to forget their home language. And we show them why and how. But we also provide practical tools and strategies, such as, for example, focusing on key specialist vocabulary in different subjects and how they can explicitly teach that, which of course benefits all children, including those who speak the language of schooling at home, but who may not have the specialist language. And of course, through all of this, bringing the languages into school connects to their real life experiences. And I'll pass to you now.
So, as you can see here, can you hear me? Is it okay? Many workshops in many countries. By the end of 2020, we'll have held 42 workshops in 23 countries. Some countries have had several workshops. Greece, for example, has had a workshop every year for obvious reasons, the number of refugees. Malta too, and other countries have made multiple requests for other reasons. Latvia, for example, and I'll come back to this in a second. We have an average of 30 participants in our workshops. Many of them become multipliers, so that's many people who are involved and who are touched by these workshops. The composition of these workshops, of the participants in these workshops, varies according to many things, to the reasons for placing a request, to the module chosen. And as you can see, we have different types of teachers We're all going to apologize now when we mention foreign language teachers. But we started with many foreign language teachers and with many teachers of English. And now we have a nice balance between different types of teachers, foreign language teachers, other subject teachers, including teachers, people teaching other subjects in foreign or minority languages. And our request for our module on the development of language-aware schools involves even other, more different types of people, such as parents possibly, such as members of school boards, members of the wider community. And what we do is that we generally encourage a combination of participants in order to enable further developments, the creation of wider networks and further collaboration within schools. About the impact of our workshops, of course, this lies in the way they address the needs expressed in the requests we get. So we're going to give you just 3 examples because we don't have enough time for more. The first one is, the first motivation for requesting a workshop is obviously the integration of children with a migrant background. And the situations, the context where these requests come from vary a lot. In Greece, for example, more and more refugees are staying, so there are new needs there for teachers. In Armenia, for example, there are repatriates who do not speak the language or who speak a different variety of Armenian. In France, it's another question. It's second, even third or fourth generation, which raise different challenges. But in all cases, it means adapting language teaching methods, and the needs for teachers or participants to the workshops will be common. What the participants to our workshops say in their feedback is that the awareness-raising impact of the workshops is very important, and they really feel they learn something about the difficulties that the learners face when working in these multilingual contexts or when coming from migrant backgrounds. What the learners, the participants also say is that they see the value of their linguistic repertoires, of their learners' linguistic repertoires, as a much more positive thing that can be drawn on. Another motivation for requesting a workshop is better integration of minorities. And here, again, to give just 2 different examples. In Albania, we had a workshop in Albania where the participants worked mainly in schools with Greek and Macedonian minorities. Or in Latvia, of course, the Russian-speaking minority. And the impact is, of course, first of all, bringing teachers together, bringing teachers from different minorities together and working together is extremely important. And the Albanian participants, for example, stressed how important it was for them to meet with their colleagues and to start working more closely with their colleagues. Curricular reforms is also another reason for requesting a workshop. And I'll give another example with Latvia. In Latvia, after the first workshop, some of the ideas about plurilingualism and multicultural approaches were incorporated into the curriculum. Then further workshops were requested in which teachers can learn how to deal with these new approaches that are in the curriculum and feel better equipped for them after the workshops. As a conclusion, because I see that time is up, we could, of course, give many more examples because each workshop is linked so closely to a very specific context. But as a conclusion, just to mention 2 things. The first one is that the team has produced a handbook. in which examples of the activities that we use in our workshops, activities which come from many European projects, are presented, and this workbook will be uploaded sometime in the near future, and will give very concrete examples of what we do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ideally, we would like to hear some feedback from the countries. What do you say, boss? We have time? Okay. Anyone willing to offer some feedback? There we go. Armenia is calling.
And Spain.
And Spain is calling? Good.
Thank you very much for your very nice presentations. My name is Lucina Feljan. I came from Armenia. I'm a member of the governing board and national nominating authority. So Armenia has benefited from RELANG project and from supporting multilingual classrooms, but now just I want to focus on the supporting multilingual classrooms. Why? Because you know that since 2014, Armenia hosted 22,000 refugees from Syria and Lebanon, and we had a lot of problems connected with equipping them with sufficient language skills so as to bridge the attainment gap between migrant and non-migrant children, and this activity that was jointly funded by the ECML and the EU helped us to develop this and implement this kind of whole school approach to valuing and to supporting our linguistic and cultural diversity. Unfortunately, the formal school education was not very much adaptable to react to all these changes, because Armenia is a homogeneous country with around 99% of the population with Armenians, and in order to make this shift, we strongly need the support of the experts from the ECML and from elsewhere to come to Armenia and to help our teachers, trainers, policymakers, how to develop these new skills, how to help the teachers to develop and to benefit from these plurilingual skills and approaches that exist in our country, that our school children, students have their home languages. I think for us, the most important thing is to develop a new home away from their home. And it's a new thing for us. And in order to develop this sense of belonging, we need to do a lot. And first of all, we have to achieve this goal through a very good quality language education. Thank you so much. I think we can continue our cooperation and partnership. And as I want to just cite the words of very famous British Indian essayist and novelist Salman Rushdie. He said, when he was under the influence of religious censorship, that free societies are societies in motion. I think today we're speaking about the word for it that is too archaic and old when we apply to languages. I think soon we will try to remove this word migrant, because we all soon become migrants, and we should learn how to benefit from different opportunities in different countries, and so we need to benefit from these developing skills, how to help the children to learn their home languages, to learn new languages, and use all these languages in their education and career opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Armenia. Spain. Spain was calling.
Hello, I'm Elena Lopez. I represent the Ministry of Education, and Spain also was very grateful to the fact that it was allowed to organize 2 workshops last academic year, RELANG and supporting multilingual classrooms. I will focus on multilingual classrooms like my colleague from Armenia. I'll try to be shorter. Most of what she said is already relevant to Spain. In our case, it's based in our constitution. Inclusion is at the heart of education. It has to be provided to every student and for every need they have. Our classrooms are inclusive. There is special need education as well. But we have students of all sorts of competences in the classroom at the same time. This can be challenging for teachers. They need support, and the idea of organizing this workshop was certainly at the heart of it, supporting teachers. Thus, we received 25 primary school teachers, infant and primary school teachers, and principals, and they represented all the regions in Spain, Spain is divided into autonomous regions, and they develop curriculums as well. So it was very important to gather them together, and it was incredibly enriching for all of them. They all really commented on the fact that they didn't really get many chances of talking to other autonomous regions, and to see that they all share the same values. I think the same can be said for the whole of Europe. So these workshops certainly open that dialogue at a local level, at a regional level, at a national level, and at an international level. So thank you very much to the ECML. Thank you very much for the coordinators of this beautiful and incredibly enriching workshop.
Thank you, Spain. José, one more, one short one.
Yes, that's Lithuania, and we're experiencing a very strange problem these days, as we have lots of Lithuanians coming back from the UK. And as language teachers, we don't know how to teach them, how to teach the foreign language, as their language skills are much better than teacher skills. And we experience now the difference, like the students know much better the language they are taught than the teachers. So I think that's another point to talk, like we have mentioned that English is languages must lose the name like mother tongue or the second language. So I was surprised that Lithuania haven't asked for help yet. I'm sure we will ask to solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it looks like there's a topic for a whole conference. Okay, now we need to conclude this session. I give now the floor to Kristina for final comments.
Yes, I just wanted to point out, because we were talking a lot about the strong partnership, and you know that I'm working for the European Commission. So I'm in the executive, or the bureaucracy, if you like. But the fact that we are working together and the fact that in this council recommendation that we have talked about many times, they ask for more and stronger collaboration between our two institutions. That's not something that the European Commission came up with, but it's the member states of the European Union that have realized that we can create incredibly good synergies when we work together like this, and when we manage to include more countries, to go beyond the membership of the European Union and to reach out with the same kind of messages. It's not, absolutely not, and I want to stress this, something that comes from the bureaucracy, but it's really a strong commitment from all the member states of the European Union, and that is something that we really cherish. And it's wonderful to be here today to hear from both the project coordinators who have been developing these extremely valuable workshops and tools, and also from some of the beneficiaries or participants that have invited the experts from the ECML to come and conduct workshops in a multitude, as you have heard, in a multitude of extremely different contexts that we are actually able to engage with. And I think we can all together feel proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristina. Maybe it would be appropriate, after all, you need some...
I want to say something reassuring.
We can't help, he has to say.
Right. This morning, Susanna asked us where were you 25 years ago? And I started thinking, I was trekking in Tibet together with a friend. Now, most of Tibet is desert and mountains. And I can assure you, I didn't know any Tibetan. And the only way to survive is to find water. That is very important and very difficult to find. And we had a little book with pictures called Pointed. Some of you may know it. And we pointed at the pictures to ask for whatever, water or food, vegetables and everything. And I was thinking also of our sign language people. Together with these pictures and sign language, we managed to survive. I'm still here because with language, I'm afraid it didn't work.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know what the conclusion of that is. we try to think. But I was going to say something in relationship to what Kristina said. I think it's appropriate to mention anyway. Well, at some stage in our negotiations, discussions, our talks, and this comes up over and over again. Formally speaking, it's possible for the European Union to join the Council of Europe, as well as to join the ECML, formally speaking. I leave it with you to discuss it further. And I would like to close on a high C, quoting Themis Christophidou, if you don't mind, from the book and his text. Just to conclude this session on the powerful partnership, I quote, "The mission of the European Centre for Modern Languages is inextricably bound to the primary goal of the European Union and Europe at large, which is to foster peace on our continent." And now, I quote again, and this can be also my words, "I very much hope that the fruitful cooperation between the ECML and the European Union will continue for the benefit of language learners and teachers in our increasingly multilingual community." Thank you very much.